Hi everybody, Tim Keefe with Transform CX. I want to take a couple of minutes and talk about batten down the hatches. Batten down the hatches is an old nautical term related to preparing for a storm. And I think it's very appropriate that right now, as we look at the headlines, we look at what's happening with inflation, that clearly we're headed for a storm. How long it's going to last, how big it's going to be, and how it's going to affect our particular industry, we don't know yet. But this is the time to start looking at all of the things that you may be doing within your organization that, hey, when things were, money was cheap, profits were there, we didn't need to focus in on the small details, we just kind of kept running. Well, now we've got to really focus in on how do we keep our core talent. Layoffs and reductions in force are really tough because depending on how you do them, often you lose your best people because they are the ones with options. So you go from having a team of A players to often being left with the C players because they're the ones who don't have options. So think about that. Think about how you want to engage with your employees. How do you want to encourage the ones that are doing a great job? How do you really listen to them and make sure that this is a good time to kind of help them if they're struggling with tools, data, accessibility, reporting? Now's a good time to fix some of that stuff because, by the way, when you come out of the storm, you want to be in a position where you're strong, you're lean, and you're prepared for growth. The other thing to think a lot about is your existing customer base. What are you doing to reach out and engage with them and make sure as they go forward and they have to reduce spending or they have to cut back on the money that they're spending on services and capabilities, that you get to stay? Which means you've got to really reinforce your value proposition. Check in with those customers. Don't assume that everything's copacetic because you haven't heard from them. Just means you haven't heard from them. So anyway, batten down the hatches, prepare for the storm. We're going to talk a lot more about that. I love my nautical analogies just because that's what I used to do for a living. But this is the time. Anyway, thanks again. This is Tim Keefe with Transform CX.